All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, and of course, we just finished with week 2 of the NFL. So, it's that time of the week. It's that time of the day. We should probably get into week 3 of the NFL pick'em. Last week, we didn't do as good as we hoped we could have because a lot of games kind of just like flipped in the last couple minutes, or teams just kind of blew like incredibly large leads. We could have had like a 12-13 win week, but there was like 3 or 4 different games that just kind of flipped and went the other way, and like we got Tampa and the Saints wrong outright. We got one other game like completely wrong. I think Philly and the Vikings and Thursday night. So we would have got at least 3 games wrong. So otherwise, a lot of those games were kind of just like the other 4 games we got wrong were kind of one possession games we could have got right. So we did all right. So let's see how we do here in week 3, where there's more of like you can take a little bit of consistency. If a team's done like the same thing in like consecutive weeks, you can be like, all right, well, this team does this, or they maybe are like this. They probably do this pretty well. Other than that, there's really not much you can go on. There's, this after this week, you start to see some patterns for a lot of teams, but until after week 3 and kind of after week 4, it's still kind of a crapshoot on a lot of these games. We're 13, 18, and 1 overall. That explains the terrible record, but hey, we're close enough to where we could actually get over 500 this week with a pretty solid week. Gotta get at least 5. Maybe it'll be pretty tough. We'll see how it goes. Let's get right into Thursday night football. We'll have the Cleveland Browns playing host to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Browns are 4.5 points with an over/under of 38.5. This should be a pretty solid matchup. I would say it's going to be a classic division matchup. The Browns and the Steelers. The Steelers are coming off a 17-14 loss against the Pats, in which they kind of struggled to get things going on offense. I don't really know if that's the Patriots defense, even though we're kind of starting to see like 2 straight games, 2 straight pretty solid performances by the Patriots defense, especially when you see what Miami did to the Ravens later on, or you probably already know. And then, of course, the Browns had that collapse against the Jets, 31-30. They were up, like 30-14 with like, or 31-15 or something like that, or 31-17 or 30-17 with like a minute 55 left, and like they end up blowing the game. It was quite the collapse. It was probably historic. I would almost imagine it's got to be one of the wildest like blown games in NFL history, just based on how much time was left, and it was a multi-score. So and then so I kind of look at these 2 games and I'm like, well, I don't really know about the Steelers right now. Their defense didn't look the sharpest against the Patriots offense that's been off for a couple weeks, just hasn't really been hitting or clicking through 2 weeks. So I wonder with the Steelers, it's like, well, without Watt, I wonder if there's like a slowdown thing going on with their defense. And they're like, well, a lot of our other like star defensive linemen are a lot better when there's like TJ in there, because he's taking off a lot of pressure. He's drawing more blocks. He's drawing more of the offensive schema against him. So naturally, it just kind of leads to there being like Hayward getting better pressure in. So I wonder about that. And then with the Browns, they've looked pretty like good on offense the like first 2 weeks of the season, and then they just had like their defense just does this last week. So I'm wondering if that was just a weird collapse, just kind of a weird fluky loss for the Browns, more so than anything. So they could be heading into this 2-0, and they probably should be, against a team that's 1-1 and they don't really have an identity on offense nor really on defense right now. So whereas the Browns, again, their offense looked pretty solid through 2 weeks, but again, their defense kind of blew it last week. So I expect the Browns to hold it here. They've been playing the Steelers pretty well. They've been, they know what this rivalry is, and I'm sure they're going to be quite ready for it. So let's get into what is going to be a long slate of 1 o'clock games. Whew. Running out of breath. The Saints and the Panthers. What an exciting game. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to it. We'll skip a little. We'll skip it because like there's like really good games in like just a second. I'll give you a little bit of insight with some of these games, I guess. Let me see. The Panthers take on the Saints here. It's the Saints are favored by 3, over under a 40.5. They're not expecting a lot of points in this game. Both of these teams lost last week. The Saints actually lost to the Bucs in the regular season, so the Sean Payton era is officially over. And then you have the Panthers, who lost to the Giants 19-16. The Panthers are 0-2. The Saints are 1-1. The Saints are really banged up right now, and the Panthers just aren't kind of like hitting on games. I think they get it together in this game against the Saints. That was all oh boy. And this one's, even a better one. I guess the Bears aren't as bad. I guess the Texans aren't as terrible, but like I don't know. Well, this is another game. You got the Chicago Bears taking on the Houston Texans. 1-1 versus 1-1. The Texans lost 16-9 to the Broncos in a nail biter, and the Packers beat the Bears 27-10, but the Bears actually looked pretty decent in that game, and that's why I'm going to pick them in this, because it was one of those things where like there was a lot of weird refereeing going on for Chicago, and it was that, and they were playing Green Bay in Green Bay, where Aaron just kind of never loses to the Bears. I don't know. Give me the Bears in this one. Houston hasn't looked like they have had anything to like do. They tied Indy in game 1, and then they just got completely shut down by Denver. They could have won that game. Denver didn't play any better than them. Kind of surprised they didn't snake it out. But hey, here's a game. Probably the first real good one, but we got the let me see. I guess the Kansas City Chiefs, they take they're 2-0 after they beat the Chargers 27-24. Pretty solid game. The Chiefs led a good part of it, or the Chargers did, and the Chiefs came back, held off a comeback. It was a pretty decent little back and forth game. Like it was a boring game until the end. It was pretty bad until the end. And then the Indianapolis Colts, they're 0-1. You see the 24-0 next to the Jags, and you assume that, that means the Colts won the game, right? And then I look at you and you go, that means the Colts won the game, right? They played the Jaguars. Yeah. No, they lost 24-0 because it's Jacksonville. It was Jacksonville at home, and we all knew what was going to happen. We just didn't expect it to be like 24-0 bad. Chiefs are 6.5 point favorites with an over under of 49.5. Indy really hasn't gotten it going this season. I know they don't really look good in Jacksonville anyway, but even in week 1 they tied with Houston, who scored 9 points against the Broncos, and it's just maybe the Texans got a decent defense based on what we've seen, but Indianapolis has just been kind of bad. They haven't really looked efficient. They've kind of the offense isn't clicking quite in yet now, and it's is Frank Reich even still a good coach, or is something not working in his offense that he's trying to utilize, or I don't know. And the Chiefs have looked pretty good in their games, so give me the Chiefs in this one. Unless the Colts just wake up, I don't know. Here's probably what could be game of the week. The Buffalo Bills take on the Miami Dolphins. Both teams are 2-0. The Bills absolutely slaughtered the Titans 41-7, and the Miami Dolphins had a comeback win, another game that I thought the Ravens could win, but then the Dolphins came back and won quite large in. The Miami did really good, by the way. They finally look good on offense. Tua and Tyreek Hill connected for quite a few yards and touchdowns. Tua threw for 406 touchdowns. I think Josh came in and threw for 404 touchdowns. It was quite the performance by both of these teams last week as they head in to face each other this week. Two teams that a lot of people have at the top of the AFC East, but you always got to watch out for the pesky little Patriots. The Bills are 5.5 point favorites with an over under of 53.5, and I have to agree. I like the Bills in this one. They've seemed rather unstoppable, right? So in their 2 wins, they've beaten the Rams and the Titans. So you got the defending Super Bowl champions that they beat badly, 31-10 or something like that. And then now they do this against the Titans. So you have 2 dominating offensive performances. Of 2 defenses that aren't really bad defenses, especially the Rams, and then you have usually they're not bad defenses in the Titans or the Rams, and then you have the 2 major offensive output the 2 major defensive performances, giving up 10 points to the Rams offense and just 7 to the Titans. So you have 2 really good outputs there. So I like that quite a bit from Buffalo. And then with Miami, they have the really good offensive game against the against the Ravens, but then their defense plays really bad last week. And then you have the game against the Patriots where they play great defense, but is that really kind of the Patriots, just their offense isn't that good right now. And then you have like they didn't really do much against the Patriots defense. So you have more like weird performances from Buffalo or from Miami than you do from Buffalo, who's been like a perfect team this year. They seem really hard to stop, and until somebody actually stops the Bills, it's really hard to pick against them. Again, it's not that I don't think Miami's like a bad team right now. It's just they're running into like probably the best team in the NFL right now. And until we see somebody do better than them and consistent, like, dude, they're killing teams. I can't pick against them. This should be a pretty fun game, actually. The Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions won 36-27 against the Washington Commanders. Pretty solid game by the Lions. They got up to a big lead. They kind of started to blow it late, but they held them off, held the lead, and won the game. The Lions scored 35 plus points in 3 straight games, which is quite that's a lot of points. This is dating back to the last game of last season as well, so Lions looking good. Goff threw 4 touchdowns. It was quite the performance. The Minnesota Vikings, of course, we've seen last night what happened. They lost 24-7 to the Eagles. We're not going to talk about all the picks that Cousins threw. And he could have threw a whole lot more. The Vikings come into this game, despite everything, 5.5 point favorites with an over-under of 53.5. I have to disagree. I kind of like the Lions in this game. Energy wise, I like the Lions coming in this game. They're kind of like playing good football. They've won one. They were able to put up 38 against or 35 against the Eagles and just lose by 3. Again, against the team we just seen what the Vikings were able to do against. What else? With the Vikings, I don't know. I mean, they're good at some points, then they're bad, then they're good. It's kind of until you can kind of get what the Vikings are, it's really hard to. I don't know how. I really couldn't pick this game. I could see it going either way in this one. I just feel like the Lions have a lot of good momentum on their side heading into this, and they're going to be riding high after beating they're like an emotional team, and they're going to be like coming in hot and high off of that win, and I can imagine that carrying them and propelling them over the Vikings, who are probably going to be feeling pretty bad about themselves heading into this one. But again, you always got to watch out for Kirk at home versus Detroit. Detroit struggles with the Vikings at times, so I guess this is like my upset pick of the week. Are those even like a thing at this point in the season? Anyway, another really good one. The Baltimore Ravens take on the New England Patriots. The Ravens are favored by 3 with an over-under of 43.5. By the way, all the lines and all that stuff are just kind of included for the sake of them being there and just kind of, just so we can kind of see who's favorite. I put them in after I make the picks, so they never really impact how I like pick my make my picks, if that makes any sense. They're from FanDuel. Gamble responsibly. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and all that fun stuff. If you're listening still, I appreciate you. I should have done this a little bit earlier, but that's perfectly fine. Yeah, just leave a like. It helps the video out, all that fun YouTube stuff. Thank you for all the help so far. The videos have done good. Even last week's, which I got up super late. Anyway, we're back to the Patriots real quick. The Ravens beat the Jets, and then they got smoked. They got off to a huge lead against the Dolphins, and they blew it, kind of like in the fourth quarter. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the with the Baltimore Ravens right now. I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. Are they good? Are they bad? It's the same with the Patriots. Their offense has not been good, but their defense has been very, very good. And I'm guessing the Patriots can kind of take advantage of a team early in the season and hold them to under 20 and kind of win the game that way. Especially a team coming off kind of an ugly loss where they didn't really score again, and they could. I don't know. I hate the way the Patriots, because if the Patriots were playing decent offense, nobody would be picking against them, but their offense has been rather bad lately. So I understand why people would be like, yeah, we can't really pick that team when they've been playing the way that they have been. I don't know, but with the Ravens, they got just like smoked up at the end there. I don't know what happened. I don't know. All right. Anyway, Cincinnati Bengals take on the New York Jets. The Bengals are 4.5-point favorites with an over/under of 45.5. The Jets, we already talked about it. They had that big comeback against the Browns. The Cincinnati Bengals, they blew it. Like they had like a comeback against the Cowboys, and then like the Cowboys, like they were going to overtime. They could have won the game, but then they kind of blew it again. And then the Cowboys got the ball and like marched down the field. Cooper Kupp set him up at field goal range, and the Cowboys kicker booted it in to win the game. I think just before regulation set it, or regulation expired. So good for the Cowboys. They were able to take their win that they almost blew. The Bengals haven't really looked sharp this year. A lot of bad O-line play. I think Burrow's been sacked about 10 times already. It's been a nightmare performance from Cincinnati. I think a lot of that is tied to, because I was like, why have they been so bad? And it's like, oh yeah, they haven't really had much like play time. They're getting things together. Burrow had that appendix burst in the offseason, or like right when camp opened up, so they had to deal with all that, and they missed a bunch of time, and just a bunch of valuable like play time, get right time. So we're kind of seeing like the Bengals work it out, and like they get kind of a break this week playing a Jets team that the Browns should have been able to handle last week, but they just kind of like choked against. I don't really know, fluke win. So again, I think the Bengals should be able to beat the Jets here. It shouldn't really be much of a game, but I don't know, maybe teams need to watch out for the Jets. Raiders and the Titans. Because the clock is ticking, I don't really have much to say in this game. Neither of these teams have looked very good this year, and the Raiders kind of fucked me against the Cardinals. No, wait, the Cardinals, well, no, this is one of the games I got right in the, yeah, I got that one right. So I picked the Cardinals to win last week, and the Raiders. Well, the Raiders were up like 23-7, and then like the fourth quarter, like late third quarter, they just blew the game, and the Cardinals wound up winning. I think in overtime, like they fumbled the ball, and then like the Cardinals picked it up and scored with it. It was quite the win for the Cardinals. Titans lost 41-7 to the Bills. We already talked about it. It was bad. So yeah, the Cardinals had a nice comeback win, kind of a fluky comeback win, though, even though I'm in favor of it. But hey, the Raiders, they just didn't, I don't know what happened. That was, again, it felt like a lot of those comebacks were like weird flukes, but I mean, we'll see how that actually plays out. Raiders are favored by, I already read that. Give me the Raiders. The Titans have looked like dog shit all season. The Raiders have been in games. They've just been kind of like making stupid mistakes, but the Titans have just been, I don't even know. The Philadelphia Eagles take on the Washington Commanders. We already talked about the Eagles Vikings and the Commanders Lions. So the Eagles coming off a win, Commanders coming off a loss. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites with an over/under of 47.5. Eagles have been pretty good the first two games of the season. Commanders have been pretty average, pretty meh. And then they got a walk-off win versus the Jaguars. They had to like walk off first the Jaguars, and they just got beat up pretty bad by the Lions. It's a pretty easy pick here. Philadelphia, who's looked pretty spotless against other than the pesky Lions. And then they smoked up on the Vikings yesterday. Like they weren't even like a relevant force. So give me the Eagles, who seem to be actually doing very well. Like we said in the preseason, though, it's not that surprising with the Eagles. They were always, well, look at the roster. As long as Jalen Hurts takes that step and is a guy, this is a dangerous Eagles team. And guess what? Hurts looks like he might be a guy with 38 and 35 this year. So 4:00 games. There's 4 of these to go, or 4, maybe 5. Oh, yeah, this is going to be a tough one for the Chargers. They have to take on the Colts, or the Jacksonville Jaguars, owner of the Colts, who they just beat 24-0. We already talked about that one. Already talked about the Chargers Chiefs. The Chargers lost that one 27-24. Both teams are 1-1. Chargers are favored by a touchdown with an over/under of 47.5. Yeah, again, it was a cool story to see Jacksonville kind of just jump up and beat the shit out of someone. But this should probably be the Los Angeles Chargers get right game, where they look right, they seem like a better team. They just they should be able to take the Jaguars out and kind of just dominate them in any way they feel. Maybe the Jaguars are good, but I sincerely doubt it. We'll probably see the Chargers win this game pretty convincingly, but something weird might happen, and the Chargers, or the Jaguars, just put up like a decent amount of points. You never know with the Chargers. They're an embarrassing team. We've talked about both these teams. The Rams coming off a win, the Cardinals coming off a win. So both teams joined the winning brigade. They're both 1-1. It's the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Rams are favored by 3.5 with an over/under 49.5. No, I haven't really been impressed with either one of these two teams. The Rams got smoked up by the Bills and almost blew it against the Falcons. Cardinals got smoked up in week 1, and then they almost blew it against the or they had to come all the way back against the Raiders team that hasn't been the greatest this year. So I don't know. At least the Rams lost to the Bills. That's the one thing I can say. Whereas that's pretty much what I got. The Rams lost to the Bills and they looked all right against the Falcons. The Cardinals barely beat the Raiders, and I don't even remember who the Cardinals played in week 1. I'll be honest with you. They might have lost twice in a row to the Raiders for all I know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm picking the Rams in this one. Feels like I should pick the Cardinals, but well, I guess I'll stick with the Rams. I don't really have a reason. I know. I don't even feel comfortable discussing. I'm not going to discuss this next game, but just know that the rule doesn't apply this week. It's the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Seattle Seahawks. We've talked about both of these two teams. Well, actually, the Seahawks beat the lost to the 49ers 27-7. Jimmy Garoppolo is the new starting quarterback for the 49ers going forward. Seattle didn't look good at all. It looked like what happened in week 1 was they took advantage of a Broncos team that's still figuring it out, plus the emotional high of Russell Wilson, first time at home, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Seattle kind of got a fluke win week 1. I don't know. I guess I was somewhat impressed with the way the Falcons played against the Rams last week, so I'm picking them despite my number one rule on the channel being you never pick the Rams you never pick the Falcons until you got to pick the Falcons. That's the rule. Oh, this will be a decent 4:00 game. The rest of them aren't very good at all. Well, actually, Rams Cardinals is good, and I guess 2 out of 4 ain't bad. That's not too bad. Green Bay Packers take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bears beat the Packers Packers beat the Bears 27-10, and the Buccaneers, we already talked about it, they won 20-10 versus the Saints, first time in a while. I don't know. Both teams are 1-1. They're both off their first win of the season. I don't know. I'm more impressed with a team that is somehow able to overcome a team that they can never beat versus a team that is able to just kind of lazily beat a team they always beat. That's kind of where I'm at with this Tampa and Green Bay game. So Brady's going to be down to his scrubby receivers. Aaron Rodgers just kind of has scrubby receivers right now. So I don't know. It's in Tampa Bay, so I'll give some credit to Tampa for that one. I'm excited for Brady versus Rodgers, but again, it's the reasoning I'm picking the way I'm picking is I don't know. I you just kind of got to go off what you see on a week to week with a team that wins and then loses and looks nothing the same in either week. So I'm just, again, the Bears, I don't know. I would pick the Saints to beat the Bears. So there's my reasons. Sunday Night Football. This will be it's a game. The San Francisco 49ers take on the Denver Broncos. I got the 49ers winning 21-17. The Broncos just really haven't been able to get anything going on offense. They've been all right on defense. I think both games, at least game 2, they were good on defense. Game 1, I don't remember. They lost. No. Denver, they lost game 1. So did the 49ers. 49ers got Jimmy G now, so I'm picking them just because that. And I think there's a decent amount of injuries for the Broncos where it's like, oh, Surtain and Judy are hurt. That's a troubling, or potentially hurt. We'll see how that plays. So again, give me the 49ers over the Broncos. The Broncos, if once they get it going, they'll be a good, better team. But right now, I don't really like their offense at all. Not against a decent 49ers defense. It's the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. We've talked about every game so far, so I don't need to talk about them. Obviously, Giants off a win, Cowboys off a win. Giants are 2.5 point favorites with an over/under of 39.5. Giants are playing decent football right now, especially defensively. I don't know if Cooper Rush and the Cowboys are going to be able to like miracle win their way into a win this week, especially against a team that seems to be playing really, really good defense and running the ball really well with the how the Giants are playing and winning games. So give me the Giants in a game that they are actually favored in. So I'll just go with the favorite at home, Monday prime time. Give me the Giants. There's my pick'em record. You can see why I might be 13, 18, and 1, because some of these games I just kind of looked at and hand waved away like, oh yeah, we're not doing that. But anyway, guys, that'll pretty much do it for the picks. The video is getting a little long. I'm getting a little long-winded on some of this, but until we get to the point where it's like super like, oh, this is the reason you could pick team A, or this is the reason you should pick team B. Like till week 4 or 5, it's kind of going to be like rambly at times or weird, but again, you know, it's shoring up. We're getting there. But yeah, that's the end for this week. Hopefully this week we do quite well. Let me know your picks in the comment section down below, and as always, I'll get to them as soon as I'm able to. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all that YouTube stuff and all that, and blah blah blah. All right, I think that's it. We got the video done under 26 minutes, or it's going to be just about 26:10. That's what I'm aiming for. So not bad, not a bad video length. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much with all the help on the channel lately. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, night, morning, afternoon, whenever you listen to this. Just, you know, stay safe out there. Go Lions, go Tigers, go Patriots, and yeah, see ya. Bye bye. Week 3. Can't believe it's already week 3 of the NFL. Crazy.